Good evening. Heartiest greetings to all the colorful, wonderful, esteemed spectators of Sheetalath Conversations. I wish you all the Happy New Year. May 2022 be a very rejuvenating and eventful year, brimmed with blossom, brimmed with fragrance, brimmed with joy, brimmed with bonhomie, brimmed with brotherhood and hope. Welcome to yet another Sheetalath Conversations show. Till now, our 40 steps, study steps, are traversing to the, you know, indelible facets and shades of our towering land and civilization, crown and cradle of India. So, once again, I greet all of you and welcome all of you to this wonderful show. Allegorically speaking, I sometimes feel that Shitalath conversation is like a biscope, a romanticizing biscope, which catapults us, which catapults us into something very musical, something very colorful, the great land, a great place where art was in its excellence during ancient times, where land of literature, land of music, and flora and fauna, peaks, landscape, geography, history, culture, art, artifacts. The great scriptures, ancient scriptures, legendary personalities from the ancient land, ancient times, and the contemporary times. So this is such a wonderful subject which normally we crisscross through in the Shitalath conversation show. I feel that I also feel sometimes that this is like a a gravitational pull. It's like a gravitational pull that we are separated between from decades and centuries together, or maybe for some other reasons as well, and then we gravitate towards. Our we gravitate towards this, our identity, irrespective of cultures, irrespective of religions, irrespective of classes. So today we are going to talk about music. Life is incomplete without music. Music is an indelible part of human life. Not only human life, it is the part of the entire existence, entire entities who are in life and who are not in life. It is said that the first sound was produced at an existential level, which is known as Nada Brahma, the sound of Brahma. So all starts it starts and pervades at in entirety at the existence level, and it's in a very very subtle way. So there are many dimensions, spiritual ramifications, and shades about this whole understanding. But coming to our land, Kashmir, the great land Kashmir. Nestled in the Himalayas, the gigantic Himalayas, or northwestern lap of the Himalayas, and it has gone through a very very great enduring journey of music since ancient times, prehistoric times, medieval times, and ancient times. This land has seen many scriptures are there where there is a mention of great musical things, musical happenings and instruments. Maybe Nilmat Puran, you can see the Nilmat Puran, you can see the Kalana's Raj Tarangani, you can see Abhinav Gupta's Rasa theory and his commentary on the Bharat Muni's Nati Shastra. There he explains many times about the music and Veena and other things. And then we have this Somadeva's Katha Sarit Sagar, and then Shemendra's theories on aesthetics, where it is there are galore examples of musicology and mention of music into the ancient history of Kashmir, and especially about this Shatayantra, Shatatantra Vadhya, known as, which is presently contemporarily and modernly known as Santoor. Santoor is an instrument which is very synonymous with the Kashmir, especially as far as the Sufi culture and Shavist culture is concerned. And it has taken almost around 6 or 7 decades from graduating of this particular tool, this tantra, to a very very exposition level, to a very exponential level, to a very profound instrument to the landscape of Indian classical music, and it has attained its name into international scenario, at the world fame. All this contribution goes to the great pioneers, especially Pandit Bhajan Sopori, the maestro, the Santoor maestro, international Vishwaguru, international music maestro and composer. Today, we were planning to invite him, and rather, it was scheduled to invite him into the studio, but because of his ill health and because of his indispositions, it could not be possible. He was the eighth prodigy of wonderful Gharana, Sopori Gharana, Sopori Baz Gharana of Kashmir. And one good advantage of talking and interacting with these Gharanas is that you have always another personality prepared if one is not available. Today, we have a privilege to be with us instead of Bhajanji when he'll get. I wish that gets well very soon, and we'll bring him along maybe in coming days, in coming weeks. But today we have with us another great legend of Santoor, international Santoor player, conductor, composer, son of Bhajan Sopori, Abhay Rustum Sopori, and he is a ninth generation prodigy of Sufiana Gharana of Soporis, which hail from Sopor. Their whole journey is spread along the 3 centuries. So, without wasting any time, he's full of youth, energy, and certainly reinforced with the legacy of such a great gharana. And then again, his father, who made this particular tantra to graduate into something of a classical, indelible or important classical this instrument. So, without wasting any time, let's invite to the studio this wonderful youngster, but a great legend of music, an international composer and conductor, Sri Abhay Rustum Sopori. Abhayji,
Namaskar.
you're welcome to the 41st Shitalath Conversation Show. It's a great pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Jugal ji. I would say it's a great privilege for me to be here tonight, speaking to you, and also an honor. Though Papa couldn't attend the this program today because of his ill health, but to be able to represent my father somewhere, I think that's in itself a great honor for me, which the Almighty has blessed me with. My regards to everyone who is part of the show tonight. My namaskar to everyone, and thanks to you for calling me.
It's always a great honor and great lovely feeling while I talk to you, even on telephonically. It's even your speech is full of music and full of subtlety. God bless you for that. To begin with, I think it is part of the etiquette of the great mahfils that whenever a music maestro comes in, that we must always begin with some playing of the music, some playing of some raga, and I think you have Santoor with you, along with you. Why don't you start with some beautiful composition of yours?
Certainly. I'll just adjust my
Yeah, yeah,
camera so
please.
people can see the instrument a bit.
That's all right.
I'll just play a composition. It's from. I'll talk about it later. Let me just start with the piece. दिल भर लग्यो लश फसदावस नावस वंदयोस दिल भर लग्यो लश फसदावस नावस वंदयोस तार तरुण लोल दरियावस नावस वंदयोस यहाँ कर लोल तबन कोरनम सूर जानान मोहिंदू यहाँ कर लोल तबन कोरनम सूर जानान मोहिंदू जारवने वागस्त कावस नावस वंदयोस दिल पर लगे लश फसदावस नावस वंदयोस यारस वनितो खार रटुन क्या यारस वनितो खार रटुन क्या चार करान छुन्यो नीना दुटुन सीन बहावस नावस वंदयोस नीना दुटुन सीन बहावस नावस वंदयोस दिल भर लग्यो लश फसदावस नावस वंदयोस तार तरन लोल दरियावस नावस वंदयोस
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What a great combination, my God.
Thank
Beautiful,
you.
Santoor.
Thank you.
And this
This
piece
is
was,
this is a composition basically which I did for Shikara movie
oh,
uh,
sorry,
by Vidhu Vinod Chopra ji,
with the Vinod
and
Chopra.
this was actually sung by in the movie. It's sung by Papa's very senior disciple Munir Ahmed Mir Saab from Kashmir,
Munir Ahmed Mir,
and
yeah.
written. It's beautifully written by
Lyrics also.
Bashir Arif Saab.
Bashir
So,
Arif's lyrics? Oh,
Ji,
so
Bashir
wonderful.
Arif Saab has written this.
Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful. He writes so well.
Absolutely. Very, very
It's a
beautiful.
great pleasure, great music that we have Sopori, and and then the Santoor, and then everything becomes beautiful. It's elevating. To begin with our formal conversation, first of all, I would like to say that you are the ninth generation prodigy of Sopor Gharana, and your father was a is a great man behind the music renaissance of Kashmir. He is the person who has, transformed, revolutionized Santoor, and probably beautiful, Tantra Santoor. But he has transported it to the levels of, national and international eminence, especially fitting into the nuances of the classical music and ragas. So that is so great. You were born into the family of Bhajan Sopori, such a great master of world stature, and you have a legacy at your back. First of all, I will, I would like to ask about your infancy days. How were those days? You were probably also a person who was best in the studies. You always stood first. I heard from some sources, and you were a great sportsman. So, what was this? This music part was there. It came naturally to you as an environment. And how was your childhood in a family of musicians and a legacy of musicians?
Well, I think the biggest blessing in my life has been that I've been born into this great family where there have been one great master after another. And as far as the documents which we have, the records that we have, and whatever references we get, so I am I represent the ninth generation. I'm sure the legacy would have been beyond that as well, but of course we don't know, because as it is in Kashmir, when it comes to the cultural side, there has always been distortion in the history, which we all are aware of, um,
Okay.
uh, because of various reasons. In our case, also in 1947, when the Kavali raid happened in Kashmir, and they came to Sopor, a lot was destroyed. So anything which we had, old instruments, ancient instruments, which we had, the legacy, part of the legacy, documents, books,
Oh,
everything, manuscripts, everything got destroyed. Later on it got repeated in 90 as well. So uh, but coming to the thing, that being born into this family, it's been a great blessing for me, and yet defines another aspect, which is the responsibility that one has towards the legacy. But from my father's side, I'll tell you, Jugalji, Papa never, uh, you know, uh, even shared his thoughts that I should come into music. He was always like, no, learning is a must, which is absolutely must in our family. That you have to learn music, but then academics have to be, the focus has to be on the academics
on
as
the
well. So
academics as well.
there is not, music is not an escape route. So you can't say that, okay, I don't like studies and leave the studies and go into music. Nobody will teach in this family. So Papa always said that, you should learn music, but then do whatever you want to do in your life, and that in itself, gave me this freedom to select my own career as per my own interest. As a in my childhood, I remember I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, Pandit Shambhunath Sopore
Pandit
ji.
Shobhunath Sopori, sir.
Ji, my
A
Dada
great
Guru.
master who has produced so many disciples who are very famous across the globe.
Uh, I remember once the then governor of J&K, late Sinha Saab, he once said that he is Ustad of Ustads. All the legendary musicians from J&K, including Papa, Shamim Devji, Kailash Mehra ji,
Kailash.
everybody, they have been his taught. So I also learnt from him. In fact, I think I'm one of the youngest disciples of my grandfather because everybody is elder to me in the lineage of the Gharana. So my Dadaji would, he would take me, and I would spend time with him, and in a very informal way. As a child, I still remember, whatever I can remember as a 3, 4, 5 year old kid. He would make me sing, and he would say, sing this particular, bandish or a bhajan or whatever would come to his mind. And gradually, in the formal system of learning, he would give me a sitar and say, now I taught you the vocal thing. And because I was learning sitar from him, now try and produce that bandish on the sitar. So then I would take the sitar and try, remember whatever the notes were. and then he would teach me. And that's the system in which I have grown, that vocal is number one. You have to understand the vocal system,
Vocal
and
first.
then uh, understanding after understanding the entire vocal system, you produce that onto the instrument. So you have to maintain the beautiful aspect of the instrument, which is the tantrakari system, which is the instrumental aspect of playing, along with the gaiki system, which is the vocal system. And that is a beautiful mix of presentation in our gharana. And I would spend, my Dadaji would then, make me eat lots of food. And, I was just gaining weight as a kid. Um, my training with Papa has been somewhat very different. Um, it was more of being in that environment where Santoor was just resonating
All the
for hours together in a day. And gradually, the entire thing got absorbed in my system, because that is something which is very important in music, that you spend time with your guru and try to absorb his style. We even have to absorb our guru's walking style, his
yeah.
way of speaking, everything. And then, once we just absorb that entire thing, then it's how we interpret that. So you must have seen that you would be listening to some vocalist, and suddenly you'll say, "Oh, he sounds like somebody, but they said a
Yeah.
different name," and you come to know, okay, he's his disciple or her disciple, because they have made their vocal texture so close to their guru. But another
Wonderful.
important aspect is that you can't be a photocopy of your guru, because then why will people hear you? They'll better go for the original. You
It not sound like a
know.
caricature. Yeah.
Gee, absolutely. One cannot be that. So after imbibing that entire thing, one has to come up with our own individualistic identity, our own style, our own, which is different yet belonging to the same root, belonging to the same lineage. That's the beauty of classical music.
Classical.
And
So you were
then
born. You were born in. You were a child who was a quite observer of this wonderful environment around, or you were a child who was a bit of obstinate. I mean, it was to bring you back to that particular level of affluence of Santoor and the musicology around. So somebody had to try. Your father or your guru or anybody who's the family had to try, or it was just a natural and a smooth phenomenon.
I think it just happened naturally. And as I said, because Papa never thrusted that thing upon me that you have to take up music. So though he would teach me, but it was limited to whatever I could take, because studies were going on. And even though whatever he would even given for half an hour would was enough for 1 month's practice and all, or even years of practice. But then I just, it just came very natural to me. But I'll even share something. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah, please.
beautiful that
This is
I
wonderful.
spent years together in telling. I don't take disciples, so everybody direct disciples. So everybody becomes disciple of Papa, and then I teach them. So for years or months together, I have to tell them that, okay, this is the hand movement, and this is how you have to, suppose this is the kalam, so you have to
Okay.
hold it like this, don't keep your fingers absolutely straight, because then there'll be a problem in the movement. So
Movement.
but in my case, this came very natural to me. I keep my hands, and that's the portion of holding the kalam. So even if I'm just sitting and speaking to you, my the grip of my hand is so natural uh, to the playing of santoor, for which I really didn't have to make much efforts. So a lot came natural to me. But then at the end of the day, whatever comes naturally, whatever we have learned, unless we put in time, we put in riyas, we put in efforts, it's not going to show any results. So at the end of the day, we have to practice. So as a child, I was into everything. I was too much into sports, and since Papa really didn't mind that. So I used to be into everything and getting hurt every time. We had this. We used to live in Radio Colony,
Okay.
Rajbagh, in
Rajbagh,
Srinagar.
Sri.
So there were some constructions going on there, and we would play hide and seek with all friends of the same age group, my brothers, my elder brothers' age group, or even mine. And sometimes, fall from the first floor because there were no nothing, just floors which were created, and then going to the hospital, getting stitches and everything. Every day there was some or the other drama happening, and hours of playing time that we had. We would come back from the school, do our homework quickly. uh, it was not the so much of interest in studies, it was just we have to finish the homework and then go on to the field.
It happens at that
And
age.
though
Yeah.
it's a little off track, but I'll tell you that today's child misses so much. I really feel they miss this
That's
kind
true.
of bonding with their the people, the children of this society or the colony. I mean, we as children, you must have done that too, Jugalji. We have childhood friends. My childhood friend, he's just like a brother to me. And
They are source of energy.
gee, they are. So this is something I feel that we have been blessed that we went through that time, because these days children are all into mobiles and just spending their time. We really had wonderful time where we could spend time playing, give time to music, do our homework, and at the same time, as per the tradition, because in our family it's not just about music, it's also about spirituality. And I remember every Sunday, irrespective of whether Muslim friends or Hindu friends,
Oh,
Papa would take us all to Shankaracharya.
Arey, wow.
It was like a sports activity. We would go up, climb the Shankaracharya because
Like,
that time
like
we would go from the other side, which was from the
mountainside,
Cornwall side. We would go from there, not the other side, from the Dal Lake side. That was a
not the
kacha rasta.
roadside. You won't pick up the road, but you will pick the track. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So we would go
that's right.
running up the mountain and then come back, running, at times fall, and again the next thing was bandages and everything. And then Papa would take me to the one of the shrines just down the below the Shankaracharya temple. So I would go there, and then we would come back, and then again the Mahabharata or Ramayana, some serial would come at 9 o'clock or ten
That kind
o'clock.
of time. Yeah. That was popular. Yeah.
We all friends, every we would gather there because we had television, everybody didn't have that time. So we would sit there, watch. It's been a beautiful childhood that I've spent, mix of everything, and I think that is what which has defined my personality as a musician.
And that's why you have become such a wonderful personality, and you are a perfectionist. And it comes naturally because I think you played cricket, or what was the sport you did in your I mean
I used to play cricket. I was a wonderful bowler, not a very great batsman. But then I
okay.
was more into hockey. Later, when I came to Delhi, I started playing hockey. And then I played a lot of hockey. I was in the state team. I played nationals. Um, then finally, I had to make a decision whether to keep a kalam in my hand or a hockey. So I decided to keep a kalam.
In KP households, neither sports is being supported nor dramatics is being supported. I mean, first emphasis is always on the academics. Your studies are the first things.
Absolutely, absolutely. That has
And
to be there. It's a must.
yeah, that's so wonderful. I mean, the growing up years in such a great harmony in Valley, and then you had such a legacy and people around. Your father, when was that? When did that particular time came when you felt like that now you have a relationship of guru and shishya? When did it turn from father son to the master and disciple relationship? When did you realize rather?
I think my relationship with Papa is predominantly more, I would say, father son relation. Of course, I mean, when it comes to music, uh, then he never looks at me like his son. I mean, he changes the raga on the stage, and I remember in the first performance that I gave. That was my debut. It was I was in school only, 95, 96, somewhere around that year. So it was at I think one of the auditoriums in Delhi. He changed the composition on stage, and then when I came back, I cried and everything. So he said, when you go onto the stage, you should be ready. So that kind of a threat which I had, that he can do anything on the stage. So if I had to play, suppose rag, any rag, say rag marwa in the evening.
Ragmarwa.
So I would make sure that I have actually practiced Purya Kalyan, Purya Dhanashri, Sohini.
Sony.
So all these ragas which are close to one particular raga, so I would make sure I practice that. Then I would practice all the talas, um, which normally he can play in that particular raga. Um, like I know that he can start with a jap tala or a teen tal or ek tal. So I had to make preparing my taranas, because I sing the compositions when I play. So I would be ready with taranas in all the ragas, in all the talas, my bandishes in all the ragas. But that actually, you know, uh,
Learning.
made me so different as a musician, that even on the concert, actually, I've been learning. So my learning process has been off stage, on stage, while eating, while walking along with Papa. But somewhere I would say the father son relation, it's more, I would say, that feeling happens more.
More often.
It's always there. But then
That's
he's a
right.
very strict teacher. I think compared to Dadaji and Papa, it's as a disciple, it's very tough to cope up with what Papa teaches. And I've seen many of his disciples not able to cope up to that pace, because he'll give something and he'll say, prepare this and come back. So if one doesn't do that and come back to, we come back to him and say, okay, we couldn't do it, he'll teach it again. He won't say that I won't teach you, but then, he can't go ahead unless,
You're
we
stuck.
reach that particular thing. My grandfather was more loving that way. You miss out something, he'll say, no problem. I'll teach you again. Papa says, I don't have so much of time. I've given you something, prepare this now. One of my Papa's disciples, he came from abroad, one of the European countries. And Papa told him, I'll teach you on only one condition, that you'll practice for 14 hours.
Mm.
The day you make it 13, I'll do your tickets and you'll go back. Within 1 month, he was playing so beautifully. It was unbelievable that somebody in 1 month could reach up to that level. And once we went back, he was playing along with Papa, because Papa keeps, his disciples.
That's like a great,
And,
great, great masters. They great masters do like those things.
yeah,
That's why
yeah.
they are
So,
different. That's why their disciples are different. So Abhijit will move a bit further, pedal, propel slightly a bit further. Uh, First of all, I really want to know about this because Bhajanji, we will have another discussion about different things. But today, I want to ask you, as a ninth generation prodigy of Gharana, of Sopori Gharana, tell me something about because certainly you must have received certain information through the oral stories and oral narrations and oral anecdotes. Tell me something about this whole Gharana, what they were practicing. In Kashmir, we had many things. I mean, traditionally looking, people are, as you said, that there was a raid in. I mean, we have in North India, we have very turbulent history. I mean, there were always invasions and everything. So most of our scriptures are yet in the revealing stage, but yet we do find that these things certainly have there were great traditions going on, and even our customs, our cultural customs, traditions, our cultural customs do record these those ancient Vedic traditions about music, about aesthetics, about iconography. So was it? I want to know about how this Gharana moved. What was its evolution? What were they singing? What were the instruments? Was it bhajan? Was it Sufiana? And was it folk? And were it leelas? And I really want to understand this because your Gharana is one of the since Bhajanji has created a bhaj of this Gharana, so this is one of the very world-renowned Gharana now, and you two personalities are very famous. So at least we want to know, let the spectators know about this entire Gharana, its evolution, origin, and journey.
Jugalji, our gharana, which is the Sopori Sufiana gharana, so it's one of, rather, I would say, it's the only gharana in Indian classical music which represents Santoor. Um, any other musician across India who are playing Santoor, uh, they have either started, afresh, or learned from a vocalist or somebody else. But this lineage of Santoor, this is the only gharana of our country, the age-old gharana. We in the gharana, the main practice was Shaiva music, so which is part of the Shaivism, and all the
Okay.
great masters would practice the music of Shaivism. Now, post the, rather, I would say, once we had the influence of Sufism in Kashmir, and
Yes.
Shaivism and Sufism, in a way, it's the same thought. It's, we worship the divine, we worship the sound, and when it comes to Shaivism, we worship the sound, worshipping the Lord Shiva. And when it comes to Sufism, we get rid of all the religious aspects and we just focus on one thing, which is the Almighty in the form of energy. Now, this is the same energy which Shaivism talks about, because Shaivism is far, far, far older than any other thought. So they would practice that. So in a way, this was music, this was devotional music, this was music of temples, as we call it. And the compositions were all hailed towards Lord Shiva, the Lord Shiva in the form of ultimate energy. And gradually, when we had Sufi music in Kashmir, so our family also had, so we have compositions in different languages, in Kashmiri, Urdu, there's a huge repertoire in Sanskrit and all. um, I still need to there's so much of treasure I have to learn. So much, still I have to learn so much. Then in Persian we have compositions in Persian, lots of taranas. So
Tarana.
we had, though the gharana was Sufiana gharana, because in Kashmir we have different gharanas which represent Sufiana. But this particular gharana to which we belong, it primarily has two branches. One is a Muslim branch, and the other was a Hindu branch, which is our family. The Muslim branch goes to the other family of Sufiana music. These were the two main gharanas of Kashmir, and then of course there were some more musicians who were part of different legacies. And gradually, with development of the Shaivism, Shaiva music, Sufi music, and then when my grandfather, Pandit Shambhunath Soporiji, when he brought in classical music, because we had this beautiful combination of Shaivism and Sufi music in our family. And one of the reasons that our family actually is very different in terms of the legacies, that it's been a family where music and spirituality has been together. There have been incidents where people say that my great grandfather, my Dadaji's father, So he was a Shakti Upasak, and when people would come to him, somebody, if he had some pain in hand or something, so he would say, okay, fine, no problem. You just do, rub his hand like this, do,
Heal.
something like this, and the person was absolutely fine. So that power, the musicians in our family, which they had, which whether their spirituality gave them or their music gave them, I don't know, but they had this combination of a spiritual aspect and music. So that combination has actually traveled generation after generation. And my grandfather's grandfather, Pandit Shankar Panditji,
Shankar
so
Pandit.
he was the one who introduced classical music in our family. And then my grandfather's father, Pandit Samsar Chand Sopori
Sarchan.
ji, he developed, further developed the style in which he started combining, recomposing new taranas which could be sung in classical music. A lot of such taranas I actually sing, and some other bandishes also. Then my Dadaji, he just took it to some other level. I think this kind of work, perhaps no other musician has ever done with the kind of contribution that Dadaji did, because he had all the problems, the social taboos related to music and dance, that good families don't
Go to music and dance
go into
music.
music and dance and all that. And then there were some religious taboos also connected to music that time. So in that era of 30s and 40s, when he started teaching people and just changed the entire environment of Jammu and Kashmir, especially Kashmir Valley, where music actually became so such a prestigious profession.
Precious, pure,
So he
sacred.
actually he gave that prestigious status to the field of music and also to the musicians. Musicians started getting, they were respected as very prominent citizens of the region.
Yeah, there was
That's
a
major
great period of
work
musicians which came in that time.
Dadaji did, and teaching thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and not just creating musicians but also creating listeners. So
Oh,
Dadaji would, even if he had gone for grocery shopping, so he would tell the shopkeeper, okay, sing few lines. Initially it would happen that they would say, Master Ji, whether you know
yeah,
will we
Chokara.
do our business or will we start singing? So he would say, no, no, just sing couple of lines, because that was like his, patent statement, ki sur lagao. And he would tell me also the same thing. If I would call him, so he would say, Acha, pehle sur lagao. So I had to sing something. And over the period of time, the same grocery shop keeper would say, Master Ji, you taught me the first line. What about the second one?
Second line.
That interest,
Was there an organized repertoire in the generations? Because when a complete family is devoted to Sangeet and music, and with such a high devotion, spiritual aspect is there because it is an Oriental civilization. We have this Brahma Vidya, music, devotion, ultimately leads to that. But was it a sustainable, economical, sustainable repertoire, or which was happening in this Gharana, or was it just a side by? You are the zamindars, you are the landlords, and along with it, you are doing this practice.
no, our primary source of everything was music only.
Okay,
And I would say our family has not been a very rich family, because music didn't bring so much of
one
finances. But we had huge lands and everything, and cultivation and everything
cultivation.
must have been there. But then, the masters, like my grandfather's grandfather, he would go out for months together. And then when he would come, he would have dozens of people with him staying at our place. Then they would perform, and musicians from different areas. They would travel together. They would come to Sopor, then they would perform there, stay for a few days, then go back. So even if they were earning whatever they were earning, they were
Earning, they were
spending it on
spending.
music only. So my
That I can
dadaji,
understand. That I
you
can.
know, he would make sure that anybody who is coming home, he would not go empty stomach. Everybody would have had food. If somebody would come during the lunchtime, everybody would have to have lunch. And my grandmother would always be in the kitchen cooking and cooking.
Cooking things.
Uh, so you know, they would feel that everybody's part of this system. So if somebody is learning and they come home, so they are part of the family. And as my dadaji would say, pehle khana fir gana. So first you eat and then you sing. You
Bhooke bhajan
can't
na hoye Gopala is na another favorite
you
line.
can't sing if you are hungry. So he, you know, they
But
spent money.
Abhay, I really want to know what were we have these traditional instruments in Kashmir. Tumaknari is there, Not is there. Not has a mention in Rig Veda as well. If we deeply study Rig Veda, we find these all mentions there. Because during that period of Kanishka, because Kanishka was a Hindu, matlab even his coins were they were engraved with the Shiva and Buddha, these symbols. So all these things traveled from here and they went somewhere there and then synthesized and mixed up and all the things. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that what were the indigenous, instruments used in the Gharana? Mostly, they were the common instruments which were being used in the folk artists and folk people or the general people, general households, or it was different. They had some specialist kind of instruments apart Santu.
Uh, Basically, in Kashmir, we had two styles. One was folk, and one was the Sufiana
Sufyan.
music, which is basically the Shevite music and the Sufi music.
Shavite.
When it comes to the Sufiana Mosiki or Shevi music, we had Santur, the main instrument. But then overall, I mean, if we talk about last few centuries, so Sufiana music has had Santur as the main instrument, along with other instruments which are only in Sufiana music. It's not in folk music or any other style. So we have Saze Kashmir, which is a bowing instrument, and then we have Setar, which is the Kashmiri sitar.
Okay.
They would have a instrument for rhythm which was called vasool. My great grandfather Pandit Samsar Chand Soporiji was the last in our family who played vasool. He was a great vasool player as well, along with, apart from
Musician.
santoor and sitar. And he had been given a title of talbaz, you know, his with his command on rhythm, the lay, the chand, and everything. So
Chand
that was the
Lai.
title given to him. So, but that vasool is an extant instrument. I've been working on that. I'm trying to revive that, and very soon, you know, with the grace of God, I'll introduce it back into concert scenario.
That's so wonderful.
Ji,
Wonderful.
ji, thank you. But
Great.
then later on, Vasool got replaced with tabla. So right now, Sufiana musicians have tabla. They call it dukra. So, but that's essentially tabla. They would even put just like we have pakhavaj with the
Pakhavaj.
atta on it. So they would put the bass drum of tabla in the same way. But right now, I think they use tabla itself. So apart from rhythm, it was santoor and then saze Kashmir and sitar. But when it comes to folk music, then we have these instruments: the rabab, sarangi,
Rabab is there.
tumbaknari, and matka as the most popular instruments. But then it was different. We even had a percussion instrument, ladisha, and all used to, you know,
Ladisha, yeah.
we had. So it's called dahar. So it's
What
like
is
a
name?
bronze with rings in it.
What's it known?
It's, dahar,
Dahar.
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 So in the ladisha style, so
Okay.
you know, suppose
Yeah, like this they do.
Yeah, it's this is my son tuning hammer, but so da 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 ra, da dun chak chak dun chak chak. So that's the style,
Creates
because
this
yeah. So they
like
would it
Junjuna
was
type.
an iron rod with iron ring. So you keep that for 1 week in Delhi. It's full of rust, so you have to clean that. I have the her because I've used that in many of my orchestras. So Dahar was there. Then Gagar is there. We had that metal, that matka, like a with a
Right.
metal
It's
thing.
known as I forgot the name. Yeah,
Yeah, it's called.
बोलते हैं
I think
उसको.
it's called Gagar. They call it.
गागर बोलते हैं, हाँ गागर ही बोलते हैं.
I think it's called Gagar.
पहरात नहीं नहीं, पहरात नहीं, पहरात डिफरेंट हो गया.
Yeah,
It's गागर only, गागर only.
yeah.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
uske,
पीतल का.
we have variations of matka as well. So it's a clay, it's a brass, and
Probably
likewise.
originally it was the clay, because when we go to the Laleshwari's period and we study those periods, I think clay had a predominant terracotta based things had a
Of
predominant
course,
role.
I think all these instruments, even tabla used to be earlier made of clay only. But then, once you travel and you never know that the clay will come separately. And, this reminds me
I
of an
also,
incident. I was supposed to perform in Brazil, and my musician, he took tumbak nari in a wooden box, and
okay.
they had probably just put in small nails and all. And when I reached there, so I on the belt I saw first, the wooden box coming in. So I said, where is the tumbak nari? Then I saw the clay, and then followed by the skin. So that was the tumbak nari we got. So even tumbak nari now, you'll be surprised that it's made of a very different material in Kashmir.
Oh,
In my recordings, I prefer using clay,
clay
tumbakti only with the skin.
with the
And
skin on it. Yeah.
yeah, but that's, I always prefer that, because that warmth and that texture which we get, we don't get that even on Santoor. You will see, I'll just show it to you. You see these bridges here. So this is
Yeah, yeah.
basically animal bone. Earlier it used to be ivory, but later on, because that
I see.
started getting misused, so that was banned. So now they use horns of dead animals. We have even tried synthetic stuff on that. It doesn't give that tone, it doesn't give that texture. So we have to use stressing on this, a dead animal's horn. So we don't have to kill animals for this. So
Yeah,
that
that's true. That's true.
natural
You can
texture
do it
is
without.
always. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, please. Maka, yes, you are very right. I mean, you can do without killing animals also, because the entire
Yeah.
science since ancient times has been built like that, that we could do without it, especially in Indian subcontinent I'm talking. I can't talk about the Brazil, I can't talk about Africa, which were very far and which are very, very hotter places and deserts. But India and Kashmir, which are full of vegetation and full of bounties of nature, I think the clay and the natural things would certainly be better than for the instrumenting and other things.
Yeah, of course. And when once we talk about the ancient times, the development of instruments has been from the natural resources. So anything which used to be hit or played was made of clay. The bamboo
Bamboo.
became
We have
flute,
this flute.
and similarly. So that's why all these instruments are made up of wood, because that's the source which we get.
So, Abhayji, I would like to, because we have to see the scope of the program as well. Uh, I would like to talk about one aspect, one more aspect, because you talked about the gharana. Now we'll talk about the. We'll now talk about the main thing, the instrument that is known as santoor. I mean, in ancient times, it used to be known as shat, shat, shat,
Tantri.
shatatantriya veena.
Tantri Veena.
Veena. It has mentioned, and I think Bhajanji has somewhere said it. I mean, he probably he has explained the class of Veenas, and one among that he has explained this is also there. Let's talk about Santoor. There has been a sea change in Santoor. from the time of when it was being used in Kashmir, in Sufiana Gharana, in those musical, I mean, even in folk. I don't know whether it was used in the folk music or not. I don't know. But in Shaivistic aradhanas and in the Sufi aradhanas or Sufi singing, it was a part of the whole repertoire. Later on, after this entire these things move on further, what do you think further from this level onward? I mean, we need to move on in this direction. आगे क्या मतलब, अभी तक तो मुझे लगता है it is all the giving of Bhajan Sopori who has created and expanded its bridges probably and strings, and he has moved it from a very limited Jaltaran kind of an instrument into something where the most complicated and intricate and disciplined and syntaxized classical ragas are based, जहाँ पे कोई भी आदमी टच करने ले घबराता है, उस इंस्ट्रूमेंट को वहां पहुंचाया. He tried to put it to that level. I want to know about this entire journey of this Santoor played without its modification, then its modification in structure, in design, in ragas, and then also the synthesis and the evolution, as we call Bhajanji a Renaissance man in music, and its evolution of Kashmiri music with the development of Santoor. Kindly illustrate.
I'll first talk about Santoor. So basically, the first thing which I would like to mention here is that since we, spoke about it just in a sentence or something, that there has been distortion when it comes to Kashmiri art and culture. The historians were not Kashmiris or had some vested interests or whatever when they started writing about Kashmiri history. So what they wanted to prove that there is nothing which primarily belongs to Kashmir, and either it was borrowed or something taken to Kashmir, and it was like a barren land kind of a thing. That's the picture of Kashmir that we get, that everything was actually taken to Kashmir. So if we talk about the music of Kashmir, they say, okay, fine, Sufi music, but they don't acknowledge the you know what was before that. So even in that happened in Santoor, that they say that this is an Iranian instrument. Yes, we have Santoor in Iran also, and it came to Kashmir from Iran. But when my father said that ancient and the references were given for the what Papa said, that the ancient name for the Santoor is Shatatantri Veena, along with the documentation we had, the facts that we had. So then they, all these historians and all these people who talk about Santoor being Iranian, they said, okay, fine, it's an Iranian instrument. It came to Kashmir in the 14th century, and the ancient name is Shatatantri Veena. So that is too childish, because if we say it's Shatatantri Veena, then we go back to 5th, 4th, 6th century, where we
Classical
have,
age. Yeah.
yeah, we
Right
go
now.
to the classical age, and we you can't have a reference of an instrument which was just created maybe a year or two back. So Santoor has been there even in Kashmir in the ancient era, and everything from Santoor is actually connected to Kashmir. So Papa also talked about this, and yes, I've been working on this part of my research work which I'm doing. I've got delayed unfortunately, but I plan to finish that too soon. I've actually worked on that, and I've shown how Santoor is actually part of the Kashmiri system, whether that's the strings or whether that's the structure. So if we see Santoor, we actually see the combination. This design comes as part of the Sri Yantra. So
Sure.
if you see the Sri
Yes.
Yantra, we have the Shiva, we have the Shakti, and in between we have these triangles, and between these triangles we get the shape of the Santoor. This is the only instrument on this planet which is part of a yantra, and that too a powerful yantra like Sri Yantra.
That's so
So this,
wonderful.
yeah. So as far as I say, that it could have gone to Iran from Kashmir, but it never came from Iran to Kashmir.
It
This
so
is our
happened.
instrument,
It so happened
and
in
this is
earlier times that here even I mean I was interviewing. Just sorry for interruption. I was interviewing Kashinath Pandita, Padam Shri Kashinath Pandita ji. His guide was an Iranian, great master Iranian, Zabul Safa. He told him that you have to do research in tasawwuf, spirituality. And do you know what he told him? He told him before this then religious revolution came in. It is I'm talking about the earlier era. He told him that entire Sufism is the giving of spirituality from India, and you as an Indian is showing reluctance to do research on that. So, I mean, now I'm just substantiating to what you said. These things went from here, even the sun worship, Vedic period, and later on they mixed on undercurrent culture, and many things happened. That's what I
And
wanted to say.
Kashmir gave birth to such legendary figures in our country, whether that is Sharangdev,
Arangadev,
Arya, Abhinav Gupta,
yeah, Abhinav.
and even in this lineage of the Shankaracharyas which have been there, I believe three Shankaracharyas have had Kashmiri roots.
Yeah.
So
And
Kashmir has been.
Shankaracharya, Shankar became Acharya only when he came to Sharda Desh and he got a certificate, accreditation. Then he became Acharya. Before coming to Kashmir, he was Shankar. Yeah.
Okay.
Please
So,
continue. Please continue.
Ji.
Yeah.
So Santoor, the traditional Santoor, I'll now talk about the traditional Santoor. Uh, it has 25 bridges.
Right.
So these are the elevated posts which you see here. So we call them bridges. So the strings go on top of this, and then we strike the column here, and it produces the sound. So 25 bridges, 13 on one side, 12 on one side, and the range of the santoor in the traditional santoor is 1.5 octaves. So when we have, say, 12 or 13 bridges on one side, we have saregama padani saregama pa, and all the makams, all the compositions in Sufiana Mosiki are limited to this 1.5 octave. And this is the same octave range which we'll find in Kashmiri sitar, the Saze Kashmir, and the vocalists also have the range of this 1.5 octave because everything is in 1.5 octaves. The playing style is somewhat what I played in the beginning when I played Dilbar Lagyo, which is a combination of just left and right, the movement of hand. Just excuse me, please. So suppose if we are singing a lalwak, so
Okay.
Shiv tree thali thali Trukai chuppanun pa Soy chei sahibo this is
Ananda.
the uh, traditional
This
way
is the
of
famous
looking
couplet of
at
Laleshwari.
Lalishwar ji. But when it comes to classical music, so this is not acceptable. The one line thing is it's not acceptable.
Linear नहीं चलेगा.
Yeah. So there has to be a continuity of the sound. There has to be a sustain in the sound, and for that, all the development in the santoor that has been basically been done by Papa. So the changes in the santoor happened that from 25, and this happened gradually. Over decades, something happened in 50s, 60s, something in 70s, 80s, 90s. There are few things which happened post 2000 as well. So we basically now have a range of 5.5 octaves on santoor, and three octaves of playing. So when we say 3 octaves, so it is, and another two and a
Beautiful.
half octaves from the pressure technique which we build. So we have, and why we need octaves is that there are few ragas uh, which are bent. Their nature is like the compositions will go towards the higher octave, or there are few ragas which operate in the lower octave. So unless you have a lower octave and a higher octave, how can we differentiate between two ragas? So that's the reason that Papa actually developed octaves on the santoor.
Octaves.
Then uh, he added a tumba as god, as we call it. So that helps in the asan which Papa created, and the name of the asan is again very beautiful. It's been named as Shri Asana. It's a
Ah,
new asana, basically, not
okay.
a traditional yogic asana. So Shri Asana, why Papa has named it, is we sit like this. So
Okay.
one leg, the right legs come like this, and the left leg goes like this. So again, we have that structure, the Shri Yantra structure coming in.
And the structure. Okay.
So the body is there, and then we have this triangle which actually gets created. So a triangle from the head to the lower part of the body, the abdominal area, and then from abdominal area to the legs, there's another triangle happening. So Papa named this as Sri Asana. So that tumba actually helps the santoor to balance in that shriyasana, because if we keep it in the lap, but santoor is big, so it will actually it will bend like this. So it holds the santoor straight. And the second is it balances the lower and the higher octave, the
Okay.
tumba. So it's fitted below the higher octave of the santoor. So he added that, and then properly designing the kalam. So this is the kalam, and
Okay.
kasht is the Sanskrit term for this. So what should be the size, what should be the weight of this kalam, and what should be the kind of the grip for this kalam, the thickness of this area, of this particular area, the mizrab area, everything. So he actually developed that. He even developed the box of the santoor, that we carry for the travel. So everything,
That's
in the santoor, Papa has created. But these are some of the structural changes. Then, as part of the playing system, so then santoor totally, it's a totally evolved instrument that way. So now when we come to classical music, so we don't have static expressions. So we'll have, say, I'll sing a composition, or to start with a couple of notes. Let me adjust the camera as well, so it will
I'll put you in the full screen. That will be better. Now it will be visible fully.
So if we are singing Re so there is this sustain which is there. So we can't say no, that was not the expression. The expression is Re. So doing is very different from
Hmm.
creating those expressions.
Yeah.
So it's how to hold the kalam, whether it has to be a finger movement or a wrist movement or the arm movement or the shoulder movement. So everything has been developed by Papa. Or de re na. So again, it's not. There's a different
Hmm.
texture. De no. No. De no.
My God.
So there is no vocal expression which cannot be created on the santoor now. In fact,
That's
as a singer, we'll have some limitations that we have to take a breath and then there will be a grab. But on santoor, I can keep my sustain going on for hours together. It's totally how I practice this, and I don't have to bounce the kalam. Then apart from that, the combination of the left and the right hand, the bowl patterns that we have, say da 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 da. Dil dil dar 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 so how to move the hand and how to create
absolutely.
that he actually created that. So in a way we have got a you know what we call as that khichdi. So we have got that, we have got a prepared dish in front of us. It's how we take that. So basically now as a player of santoor, I just have to practice what has been created by him. So he spent years and decades together in creating those things. So we as the next generation have this blessing of only practicing. He has not left anything to be created on the santoor now.
Oh,
Everything is there. So but I have, I think with the blessings of Almighty and all my elders, I've been able to further contribute something to what he had already created. So now we have like gamak part.
Namak.
So as a singer, I'll say ah. So we can't say no. It is ah 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 so this is the gamak
That's
we have,
beautiful. Beautiful.
or creating a similar expression.
Wow.
what kind of pressure has to be put onto the
Creative.
instrument. And then he
Salutation to
created
his genius. Salutation to the genius of Pandit Bhajan Sopori. I mean, he
G,
has
G
created such a
absolutely.
wonder yantra, such a wonder tantra. I mean, now I
It's
think
hard to believe, Jugalji, how Papa must have spent, his years in developing all these things. It looks unbelievable to be, done by a single person in one lifetime. So, but Santoor has really come up to that level that we have Drupad, Papa, and I also play. We play we have Drupad recitals. We are playing in the Drupad festival now. So Santoor has actually gone on to that level. And even one of the most beautiful things which we have on Santoor is the pressure technique, meaned which he created. And I further uh, added some technical aspects to the same thing, but this is primarily Papa's creation only. Now, suppose if we have an expression like re, na. So basically, there's nothing, as I said,
left.
which a singer will sing. Yani as a vocalist, which I will sing and then I can't produce it onto the Santoor. So Santoor has actually come up to that level. And of course, then, making it more uh, friendly, I would say, for a player. Because the Kashmiri Santoors have a major problem. They are beautiful in Kashmir, but the moment you take them out, they crack. So whether that's just the wood which has been kept there and then the instrument is made after that, or it's a instrument which is lying in Kashmir for 50 odd years, you bring it
Oh,
to Delhi's weather with 46, 47-degree temperature and the
doesn't
humidity,
sustain.
it doesn't sustain this kind in this kind of weather. So there were some more technical changes which were done on the Santu, that the sides have to be strong so that there's too much of tension of the wires, with 100 wires on it. And yeah, one thing which I forgot, that the number of bridges which Papa has increased from 25. So now we have about
40,
43
43.
bridges. 43.
Almost
At
double.
times it can even be 44, but so the range is actually up to 160 strings. But then we have the strings a little more than 100. But then we have the resonatory strings, the tarab. So
Oh,
once we play the mean and all, so they resonate, the resonatory strings, the sympathetic strings as we call them. So that is there. And as I said, Papa has even designed the Santoor box. So spending money on that, because once you do a new experiment, it has to be financed. In art and culture in our country, there is no such support.
support
I mean,
system
we are one of the richest cultural states in the world,
in the world, but
uh,
yet
as a whole country. But our focus and our respect for art and culture perhaps would be number one from the bottom. We really need a good cultural policy in our country. We just don't know what to do with our musicians in this country. And whether there are few state governments who do a lot in the field of art and culture, like Madhya Pradesh. They have
Madhya.
awards in the field of art and culture, like Papa just received the Kalidas Samman, which was given to him
Yeah, I
just
was.
a couple of days
Congratulations
back.
for that. Yet another
Gee,
feather
thank
in his
you.
cap.
Thank you so much.
Although he is
Uh,
so much rewarded, so much awarded, but yet again, yeah, it's a
Ji,
more of a respect, more of a respect.
ji, absolutely. And I really wish that our Jammu and Kashmir also has such awards. You know, we should have awards after our great legends, great saints. Why not to have Nundrishi Award? I mean, we have Samapa awards, like we have Nundrishi,
Yeah,
Samapa Nundrishi Award, we have Samapa Vitasta Award. I think these are the only national level awards pertaining to J&K, especially Kashmir. But
Abhijit,
a
I
state
would like to.
recognition,
Uh,
that
you want to
is
say something
important.
more? Uh, Actually, I wanted to ask about you have created. I've heard that in the terms of Raga Laleshwari, Lag Patvanti, and Raga Nilam uh, Ramjani,
Nirmal
something like that.
Ranjani.
Could you brief us a bit about them because now we are also running out of time and we'll have to.
Sure.
I mean, we'll go on, but still we need to be faster, bit faster. We are enjoying it, every bit of it.
These
Yeah.
these three ragas have been created by Papa. So Nirmal Ranjani is a raga which Papa made in honor of Her Holiness Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi Ji.
Mata Devi,
And Rag Laleshwari is, of course, named after
Mata Devi.
Laleshwari. And Rag Patwanti is a combination of Rag Patdeep and Patwanti, Patdeep and Madhuvanti. So Papa has created that raga. He recently, I think last year itself, he created another rag, which is Rag Hemras. Hemras. And I have
Raghvendra.
created other ragas. I have created Rag
Oh, wonderful.
Nirmal Kons, again in honor of Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi Ji. And Papa, wrote the bandish in that raga. And then Dr. Agni Shekhar ji last year told me that, he had thought about creating a new festival as Sharda festival.
Okay.
So he asked me to compose a new raga as Rag
Hmm.
Sharda. So
Hmm.
I was able to do that, and I created a new raga Sharda. And before that, I created another raga which I've named it as Rag Mahakali. So it's in the name of Mother Kali, Ma Kali,
Madhagal.
and
Mahakal.
that these are the three ragas which I have made. And apart from them, there are some compositions which have been written by Papa. At times, I also write few bandishes and all, compose few taranas. And as it is, there is so much of repertoire of compositions that we have. So it's getting added to the great legacy and the repertoire that we have.
I want to take you to some reminiscence with a video clip. I'll just show you. I think that was Bavarian State Orchestra and your troupe, Sufiana, in the combination of Sufiana and German Symphony, some fusion going on with the greatest conductor, one of my, dream conductor, that is Zubin Mehta. You conducting on one side and Zubin Mehta conducting on one side. This was how was the experience? And only narrate few words and a brief discussion about this all. Sound is
Yeah. I had put that on mute. I'm sorry. It was an absolutely great honor for me, Jugalji, to work with uh, Zubin Mehta ji. A lot of things happened for the first time during that presentation. It was for the first time that uh, a symphonic orchestra came in fusion with folk music. Then two conductors on the stage. It normally doesn't happen. So two
normally it
conductors,
doesn't.
and yeah, I
Unusual.
had great honor to co-conduct along with him. And actually, it was a historic moment because over 100 countries were watching this program live, and
Live
somewhere we
going.
have this notion about Kashmir. Whenever we talk about Kashmir, there is something negative which we talk about.
Yeah,
So we were actually talking about art and culture of Kashmir, and the beautiful treasure that we have from that land, one of the beautiful things from that land. It was absolutely a great experience for me. And even when I was composing this piece, because I've when I was doing the composition, the arrangements and all, so I even asked me, I said, should I just compose the Kashmiri parts and then leave? So he said, why would you do that? If you're composing, then do the full composition. So I actually felt that, I've seen that in Papa, giving that space to youngsters. Unfortunately, I don't find that in many of the people. Not many, some people.
some
Even in
people.
my field, at times, when I'm composing and they have to participate in that composition, so they are abhi to chota hai, he's too young. Why should we? We are too senior. So I've seen that Papa giving that space to youngsters, whether it's through presentations or through his compositions, or bringing them onto the stage, like he'll bring the disciples on the stage. And I saw the same thing in, and that humility in Zubin Mehtaji also, that he actually gave me that space. Somewhere government of Jammu and Kashmir forgot to mention my name, but he actually said that. So
It happens.
it's a
JNK, you can bear with that. I mean, hello. So,
I just keep on just leaving that.
but
It
it
just
was it
keeps
was
on
really
happening.
delight to see when I saw you there, and I was so much exhilarated. Zubin Mehta on one side, both Indians, one settled in, there, and you are here, and both the great Indians conducting simultaneously. That too on the land of Kashmir. It was so wonderful, and certainly I don't know whether you had some interaction with Zubin Saab, Zubin Mehta ji for a while. I mean, कुछ उनसे
Yes, I
बातचीत
was having that because during the development of the piece, I had to speak to him. In fact, I'll share something. It was so hilarious because in Kashmir, the folk musicians, either they are not literate or they are not. When it comes to music reading, then they don't know at all. Uh,
okay.
in India, we basically don't go by reading notes. We memorize it and then we play. So he once asked me, how's the preparation going on? So I just generally said, I said, yeah, it's going on well. They are memorizing the piece, and it should be fine. So
Yeah.
after a few seconds he realized that I said something very different. So he said, why are they memorizing it? I said, because they can't otherwise remember it. And over the period of days, they remember the piece, and then I always have to guide them, and they can't read. So he was totally, in such a state of shock that, how
Bewilderment.
can you play with an orchestra without reading the music? Said, well, that's the beauty. They will do it, and they'll do it in absolutely in a wonderful manner. It took me around, I think, what, 12, 13 days to prepare the musicians for this piece. And even before that, my father's disciple in Kashmir, Munir Sahab. So he was sitting at times with the rhythmist, telling them the rhythmic pieces, because there's too much of variation, rhythmic variation,
Actually, it's a
melodic
totally
variation.
entirely different,
And I would hold them
style.
for over 10 to 12 hours each day, and they would be dead tired by evening. But I think that's and they were practicing there. The Bavarian Strat Orchestra was practicing there. They also practiced it for so many weeks together. I believe for almost a month. Apart from their other presentations of Tchaikovsky, the classic
Classical,
legends, Beethoven, and other
Mozart.
pieces which they were doing. So they were practicing there, and we were practicing in Kashmir. And then finally we did common practices for 2 days. So that brought this great event.
In continuation to this, Abhayji, I would like to ask, what about this music of fusion? When this we say Vasudev Kutumbam, that's the old slogan. I don't see it's a slogan. It's a rather our ancient what we call honor that we are Vasudev. We call entire universe a Vasudev Kutumbam. But when it becomes a rhetoric, then it becomes a slogan. So all the arts and cultures around the globe are now, because of now it's a net age, everything is becoming so close, and it is very natural that the synthesis will happen, the fusions will happen. uh, I mean, uh, our gharana, our these shastriya sangeet, classical, they have sustained thousands of years of incursions from the foreigners. They are so strong in them. Do you think see any threat to this entire indigenous apparatus, or it is or it is other way around? I mean, it can affect our indigenous apparatus, music system, or ragas, or their structure and style and whatever.
Not at all, Jugalji, because our classical arts and other traditional styles, they have sustained through so much of slaughter that has happened in the field of art and culture. So when it didn't lose its identity that time,
How
now
can
it
it lose
won't,
them?
because now we have the uh, internet is there, and with the globalization of music, so that's certainly not going to happen. Yes, if anything goes wrong, it would be with the musician, not the music. Because
Okay.
at times I find musicians who, in the name of fusion, go into some other kind of style which is totally confused state of affair,
Yes, that's true. That's true.
compromised system, just for creating something which can bring in lots of whistling and clapping from the audience. So we
Loud.
find some people getting into that kind of area where they'll compromise with their content. But I personally feel our style, even classical music, it gives us so much scope of experimentation. And at the end of the day, I personally feel that experimentation and um, uh, improvisation is part of evolution. If Papa wouldn't have done all this experiment and
We have
improvisation, we
reached
would
to this
still
stage.
be doing the left and the right hand on the santoor. So experimentation, this entire evolution process is a must. But then we don't have to, basically we have to stick to our roots. That is also very important. That's the most beautiful part that we have in our music. So let's my efforts, personal efforts, are always that even if I'm doing fusion music, this piece was fusion, but you don't lose the that Kashmiri flavor, you don't lose that. So if we have, if we plan what we are doing, if we are doing something very constructive, I think it's a good affair. It's a good effort, I'm sorry. And apart from that, anything which is totally anti style, anti culture, we should try and avoid that. But if somebody does that, it's a personal choice which is most welcome. Anybody can do that, but it won't harm our music, not at all.
It reminds me of one of the concerts of this man, अपने musician जो Jagjit Singh ji. I was comparing it. It was in the open lawns of Harinivas Palace. And I did it in English. I was doing English comparing, and I introduced every artist and everything. And suddenly, there's a bar there over there, and bar is open, and people are going to the bar and coming from the bar. Itni badtamizi, and they started. And Jagjit Singh whispered, and he got annoyed. He got terrific. Matlab, they used to go into the bar, have a peck, and come back again, and then whistle around and ask for their favorite this farmaish. And then he said one line beautiful. He said, "Mele mein aaye ho kya?" I mean, that was a kind of a slap to the entire, but hardly people know. Yes, I think we are very robust. Our now Bhajanji has created such a wonderful instrument. I mean, it took him 60, 70 years, and you are still evolving. And I don't think our roots are so weak, so frail, even in our classical music, that it can be bowed down by any kind of a fusion. That will not be everlasting. It will be, maybe it will sustain few odd hours or a days or so for that purpose. That's what I also feel. I have the same thing. But Abhayji, I would like to ask about your contribution now. Samapa is a great organization. I really wanted to ask you about the concept and its modus operandi, and what was the real purpose, and how you have been able to crisscross through, go along through this entire, this what do you call it, this concept of Samapa.
Basically, we had Sangeet Mahavidyalaya, which was run by Dadaji in Kashmir. So,
Yeah,
the main institution of music, which created so many artists and legends. And when we came post 1990 to Delhi, so Papa had this thing that we should, come up with an academy which can, contribute in the same manner, which the way Sangeet Mahavidyalaya had done in Kashmir. And over next few years, we worked on how we can, work on this, how we can develop this. And then finally in 2005, uh, after 2000, actually, I also started going back to Kashmir, working there, going to various institutes, performing for the children, uh, uh, getting them, back together with their roots through music. I've been to all these areas, far off areas from the main city. And during those years, we were thinking, what kind of an academy we could have, we can build or something. And then finally, in 2005, we came up with Samapa. So Samapa is basically Sopori Academy of Music and Performing Arts.
fine.
We don't have any infrastructure right now, primarily due to lack of funds, but it's functioning in the traditional way, which is the Guru Shishya Parampara. So students who out of Delhi, when they come to Delhi, they come here, at home. They have their training and everything. And even in last 15 years, there are so many musicians who have come up learning in Samapa. But Samapa in itself is actually, how I would define it. It's not just an organization, but it's a cultural revolution, in terms of its thought and all. We have just changed the entire musical scenario of Jammu and Kashmir, which was there after 1990 when Papa and Dadaji both left Kashmir. So, going back, so kind of functions which we do, like we have Samapa Sangeet Sammelan in Delhi. With the grace of God, it's the topmost classical music festival of Delhi.
It's very
So
good.
we have musicians coming from different parts of the country. They come here, they perform. Last 2 years, I think this year also we'll have to do it, unfortunately, online, because it's such a huge festival that I don't know how to squeeze it that way. And it's also not safe right now with the present cases of
Yeah,
COVID
pandemic is
going.
going on.
So we
Oh my
don't
God.
want to contribute to the cases from our side. So though I really don't want that to happen, but we'll have to do it online this year as well. But it's been functional right from 2005, so it's been almost like 16, 17 years now. With the grace of God, it's been there. Then in between we did some festivals like Sangeet Vibhuti festival. That was the only festival of this country when we did that, in which senior musicians would participate, 60, 70 plus. And when I went out for sponsorships and all, so somebody told one of my coordinators that nobody gives funds for such kind of festivals. I said, okay, nobody wants to give, it doesn't matter, I'll give from my own pocket, it doesn't make any difference. It's something which, and that festival came up so beautifully. We had a house full, and then we used to do it after every 2 years. Then in Kashmir and Jammu we have these festivals going on. So in Jammu, we started Samapa Alap in 2006. The first year it was 4 days, the next year it was 6 days, and the third year it was a 15-day festival. And then I said, no more. We can't stretch it beyond 15 days because there is so much of work to be done. But that was the kind of response. Then even the kind of media support that I got in J&K, every paper is there to support us. And initially it would happen that it was covered yesterday only, but now it's not the case. Whenever Samapa festival happens, the
Happens,
media
people
gives its full support. In fact,
present.
few friends from the media, they approached me that you talk about ragas and bandishes and taranas and all these things, but we don't understand that. So how can we understand? So I started a session specially for media personalities. And I would tell them, just please come. Now, you don't have to come for covering this festival. You just have to come and enjoy and just, imbibe the entire music system. So that was, everybody liked it. So we go to, and I personally feel we have to go to the people. By sitting in Jammu auditorium or Kashmir auditorium, I can't expect a revolution to happen towards the Rajouri side. It won't happen.
That's
So
true.
I tell people that I have taken one step. Now I want you also to take one step. So that's how we'll walk together. So we have
That's
the festival all around, the place. Unfortunately, last couple of years, few years, we have not been able to have the
that's
festival.
because that's very natural. You cannot take risks. I mean, all the things have been
Absolutely.
taken.
But the last festival which we had 11 days, 12 days in Jammu, and then followed by another 11, 12 days.
It was
More
which
than
year? Which year?
450 musicians, youngsters, seniors, they participated in the festival. And I had more than 125 concerts, which we
Oh,
did,
wonderful.
combining
That's
in Jammu and Kashmir. In all the areas. In Kashmir side, we had Bandipora, Badgam, Sopor. We started with Sopor,
Sopori.
Baramulla, Kupwara, and I had personally planned it for 1.5 to 2 hours, but
Hmm.
none of the presentations were less than 6 to 7 hours. In fact, in Kupwara, it went beyond 8 hours also. And finally, I had to tell them, I said, we need to stop. I have to go, we have to go back to wherever we are staying. So musicians have to go back. So everywhere, Anantnag, in Jammu side, we had Arispura, Rajouri, Punch, Samba, Akhnur, Radampur, everywhere. So it's such a beautiful thing. Yes, we the kind of work which we do, it's connected to the roots. And whenever we are doing such kind of work, we don't get huge sponsorships and huge support, but then we get good like-minded people. We are able to do the festival. And Samapa has created a great it has created actually a new
Enthusiasm.
generation. Yes, absolutely. New generation of music connoisseurs, new musicians, generation musicians have got their prestigious platforms. And we always believe that there has to be a common stage for the established musician and an upcoming musician. So the same stage where somebody like Anup Jalota ji would be there,
Hmm.
um, the stage would be shared with one youngest tabla player or a young harmonium player.
That's so good.
Papa
That's
is
the harmony.
performing. we could have a young tabla player, or if I am performing, we could have some youngster coming up along with me, some new face. So we believe that we have to promote. We also have sessions primarily for youngsters, so we have a mix of seniors and juniors, upcoming musicians. A lot of contribution has been done by Samapa that
That's a
way.
great
And
thing.
even during the COVID times, like the second wave which happened, so through Samapa, it was Papa's idea. We created a song. It's called Samapa COVID prayer song.
Kailash Kher was there.
Kailash sung that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is so beautiful. I just listened to it. My goodness, it is so touching, heart touching.
Ji, ji.
Wonderful work, wonderful. It was
So
composed by you.
I composed that, Ji.
Beautiful.
So we believe in doing something which contributes to the society, which contributes to building of young generation musicians, giving them
That's how it should
platforms.
go around, and
And
how we should
we
work.
are,
And the celebrities, especially the people like you who are known internationally, especially your legacy is there, your own work is there. So these things get inspired unless until we pay back like your father has done, like you are doing. Art means nothing if you don't become a better person. If you don't become a better person, a sensitivity doesn't evoke. So art means nothing. So before going, I would like to say one thing. There we have the great music composers in our cellulite panorama, and there might have been many which might have been the favorite of your father, and some of the songs might have been your favorite too. Just for the sake of our spectators in a lighter vein, I can only request if you can play a bit of music or a song on this Santoor, some famous song from the cellulite, earlier or the latest or the older movies. I heard that Sangam is a favorite movie of your father, and there's some song there in Sangam.
I had actually tuned in my instrument to a different scale,
Okay, then you
so
can then
it will take me. But I can actually just sing a line if I remember whatever I can
yes,
remember. I'll
please do,
sing it.
please do,
I'm
please do,
bad
please
at
do. It doesn't
remembering
matter.
lyrics, but one of the songs, like classical based, "Se Pucho Na Kaise Maine Rain Bitai," Manade
Ah,
Sahab has sung
Manade
that.
is beautiful.
It's a beautiful composition, and it's by I think S.T. Burman Saab
S.D.
composed
Burman is
that.
the
I'll
composer.
just hum or sing whatever I can remember. दा पूछो ना कैसे मैंने रैन बिताई, पूछो ना कैसे मैंने रैन बिताई, एक पल जैसे एक युग बीता. I'm sorry if I sing wrong lyrics. I
Beautiful. It's
haven't sung
beautiful.
this song for years together. एक पल जैसे दारा दारा दादा
जी
दारा
जी
ना
जी।
दाना ना
Right, right.
दारा दारा पूछो ना कैसे मैंने रैन बिताई. I'm so sorry. I had I known this
So
earlier, I would
beautiful,
have
so beautiful.
taken
Abhay
out the
bhai, बड़ा
lyrics.
आनंद आ गया।
Yeah. But if
Yeah,
you want, I can just play something in the raga that I have on the Santoor, a
I
small
really want.
bandish.
You can play the
2 minutes?
ragas as well. Actually,
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted a complete session for ragas, but since time was running out, that's why I
Ji.
asked you for the common people's this no farmaish.
Okay.
You can play
So
the ragas.
okay,
Yes, yes,
I'll
please,
just
please,
very,
please.
very briefly. This is Ragishri.
Rageshwari.
फुलवान की माला, फुलवान की माला, अपने पिया को मैं ढारूं घर फुलवन की माला फुलवन की माला अपने पिया को मैं ढारूं घर फुलवन की चुन चुन कलियां सेज सजाऊं चुन चुन कलियां सेज सजाऊं नौर पिया मोरे फुलवन की माला अपने पिया को मैं माला फुलवन की माला.
Ah, bye bye. You touched my heart. So
Thank
wonderful,
you.
so
Thank
fabulous.
you so
God
much.
bless you. You're really blessed. You're really blessed. I feel so overwhelmed. I had other day listened Bhajanji's. He played some Rag Marwa, bit of Rag Marwa. I don't know. I can't now take another farmash. If you could play it for some a small patch for it, is it
I can
possible
sing
right
a
now?
bandish. It's in a different scale. I can sing a bandish.
Okay, just fine. Just I'm sorry. I mean,
Sure.
I'm just
No, not at
annoying
all.
you.
Da, re, तारा सांझ भई जोगिया रोए सांझ भई जोगिया रोए रोई रोई के अलख जगावे सांझ भई जोगिया रोए सांझ भई जोगिया रोए रोई रोई के अलख जगाए सांझ भई.
Beautiful. God bless. Abhayji, you are a celebrated Santoor icon maestro, internationally known, doing wonderful things. You are the youth icon as well. On this platform of Shitalath Conversations, because a lot of people from our diaspora across the globe are watching this show, most of them must be your followers, and most of them must be liking you. You are an icon for everyone. What message do you want to convey to the diaspora, entire youth, not only the diaspora, youth, uh, a note from your heart? What is the real central theme, central message you want to give to the youth of the country, youth of the world, or youth of our diaspora who are witnessing this program?
Well, first of all, I would say my gratitude to everyone for the love and blessings that they always shower upon me. The elders, I think, as youngsters, it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing that the elders love us, and in my case, I really find that my elders really love me, and the youth. Uh, find feel they have that kind of bond with me, so that bonding with the youth. So I just want to thank everyone for believing in me, and always giving that love and blessings to me. And for the message, please continue doing that, always love me and bless me. But apart from that, I think for youngsters, I mean, for elders I can't say anything, but for youngsters, uh, just one thing, that there is no what I would say as supplement to practice, and we just have to believe in our own self, believe in our guiding force. It could be our teacher, it could be our guru, it could be our parents, and believe in their faith and believe in our own faith, and then work towards perfection of our art. No matter what we do, whether it's music, it's spirituality, it's commerce, maths, cricket, badminton, Indian music, Western music, whatever it is, we just have to give in our best, and I think then Almighty takes care of everything. Um, I think that's what
Thank you
I can.
so much. Thank you so much, Abhayji. It was a great honor. It showed magnanimity. You came with a simple call, and you are so open-hearted. You are so elevated that probably conveys to the world what music and what art, what the legacy can do to a personality. And certainly, this whole conversation was heart-storming. I won't say it brainstorming. It was heart-storming, and it was enriching, and it was a great experience for all of us. God bless you. We love you from the core of our heart. As an elder brother, I give you my blessings. You are a wonderful icon of India. May you shine like your father. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Namaskar.
So that was Abhay Rustum Sopori, the international music icon, the Santoor maestro, the international conductor and composer, a great personality, widely traveled, well awarded. You have listened to this most wonderful, enchanting session. We'll be doing another session with his father, the Vishwaguru, the world, the world master, world maestro of Santoor, great personality. In probably within week or fortnight, but today it was really a delightful. I feel so light. It was more like a meditation talking to Abhay. So thank you very much, you all being glued to this program. Uh, that's all for today, and we'll be meeting next Sunday at 7 p.m. with another historic show. Thanks a lot.